All I rap about is how I'm living here. Always sunny niggas got no children yet. Trying to make my way to $1 million cash. No one's getting saved, I'm the villain, yeah. I should be detained, how
Welcome to MixtKid's Club. I apologize for being late. Look, man, I just got off work. I got obligations. I got bills to pay. So here we are, right? So today what I'm going to do is we are going to have a conversation with a gentleman that I actually met in Dubai, but is more or less from around the way. And fantastic guy, obviously a mixed kid, and has been an expat and now back in the States, celebrating life with his beautiful, beautiful wife and lovely family. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump on here and I'm going to add Jeremy to this thing. So let's get Jeremy in here so that we can get a big, fat round of applause and welcome for Mr. Jeremy Livingston, I presume. Jeremy Livingston, ladies and gentlemen. Jeremy Livingston.
How's it going, Ian?
What's up, buddy? How you living, man? You well?
Well, trying to make it day by day. I loved your intro on. Hey, we got bills to pay, we got stuff to do. So,
Bro, that's you know what? That's what it is. Not every time is going to be ideal. Not every time is going to be exactly how we plan it out, but we make it work. That's what we do.
exactly, it's adaptability. That's what mixed kids do.
I mean, the best of us. I'll tell you that much. I'll tell you that much. So Jeremy, man, for those that don't know, brother, tell the people who you are. You know, tell them where you came from. You know, talk about the nasty natty if you want to. Let's. Who is Jeremy Livingston?
Awesome. I like to think of myself as multi-dimensional. I like to think of myself as someone who has a lot of different interests. I have a lot of different passions, but for first and foremost, I am a girl dad. I have two beautiful young daughters. I am blessed with a very, very supportive, beautiful, and caring wife. I am from Cincinnati, Ohio. That is my home. I've been on the East Coast and out in Dubai for the last 10 years, working in marketing for Johnson & Johnson, and had the pleasure of being introduced to Ian, gosh, maybe six or 7 years ago now.
Yeah.
That time flies.
Yeah.
But got to run around in Dubai with Ian for about 2 years, and then my wife and I moved back to the States in 2016. We now call Jersey City, New Jersey home. I've been here for the last 5 years, and wannabe chef, big sports fan. I'm really, really excited to be on this live with you tonight.
Bro, I'm pumped about it. I'm pumped about it for so many reasons, right? So there's so many levels to this scenario, to this situation that is life, and it's been very interesting for me to have these conversations and to come at you from someone who I probably know not as well as some of the other people that I've had on this conversation, which is great because this is where more learning happens, right? So tell the people so that they know, mom is what, dad is what. What is this beautiful mix of Jeremy?
Yeah, so I think it's funny because if you are a mixed kid from the 80s and 90s, I feel like there's a stereotypical view of your family. Your dad being African American, your mom being white. I fall into that trap. I think it's exciting to see nowadays kids and all the different combinations of mixing and matching going on, but definitely mom is white and dad is black.
I mean, I get it. And I guess one of the questions that I recently came across that someone had mentioned to me that I never even thought of was, at what point did you realize you were different from the other kids?
Yeah, so uh, it's a provocative question for a couple reasons. One,
Yeah.
my family, we moved around a little bit. So every time we were, I was born in Columbus, Ohio. We moved to upstate New York, then moved to Cincinnati, and that's where I really call home. I think kids are so fortunate that, race really and color really isn't known. It's
Yeah.
like adults that put on that complex to kids. And so, I actually don't think, and part of the reason why I feel like I didn't realize how different I was until a little bit later than some of your other people earlier on in the shows, because I have an identical twin brother. So my brother Josh and I mean, we were kind of we were kind of one. And so it wasn't probably until I would say I was 8, 9, 10 where
Yeah.
I actually realized, hey, maybe I am a little different from others, and was fortunate enough to go through those transformative years, which I know we'll get into a little bit later with my twin. But I'd say around that age is where I think there were two main things that made me feel different. And
Okay.
then a lot of the things that happen internally, I think start to ring true and start to figure out, okay, what does this mean? Who am I?
Yeah. I asked the question with a purpose because, when you're at home and you're in your family unit, that's your family unit. So as a reference point, that's what you think family units are, right? And then you start to branch outside a little bit and start to realize not everyone's family is built the same way, or not everybody is built the same way. And I never thought of necessarily that I was different because the vast majority of my family, and I mean this extended family, is also mixed. Like my dad's side of the family, you're probably at about 75-80% mixed kids. So
Yeah,
I was just like this. I assume this is what every family does. And so it was a while before I was like, wait, you don't. So who's like, where are the colored people? Where are the black people? Where are the Mexicans? Where are the Asians? Where are the Hispanics? Where are the Native American people in your family? And they're like this. Well, my family's just white. And I was like this. Wait, just white? You have an all white family? What is,
yeah.
you know what I mean? That was always weird to me. But yeah, so no, I definitely asked that question intentionally, because it's a very unique scenario. Um,
Yeah, I think I mentioned earlier two specific topics. I think I'm sure I took tests earlier on,
mm,
but in the fourth and fifth grade, you start to have like these proficiency tests, and you have to start doing scantrons, and you have to start making bubbles, right? And when you and I were growing up, there wasn't all this beautiful blending going on, so it was very, and I mean this tongue in cheek, very black and white. You had to literally select.
yeah,
And I'm like, well, I don't really fit. And other wasn't an option until we were in high school or
yep,
college.
yep,
So I would always check black because that's how I, as a teenager and growing up, felt
mm,
like the world saw me.
okay,
And if you are having those more intellectual conversations at that age when everything is like you're guessing and you're trying to figure the world out. I always felt like people saw me as black, even though I'm of the mixed kids. I'm probably more of the lighter end.
yeah,
Uh,
we are beige. We are very beige.
but even still, I mean, I just put myself in the black bucket.
Yeah,
And it wasn't actually until more recently, like in my 30s, where I've really embraced this mixed kid
hmm
embrace. But in my teens, in my 20s, it was black and black only. And again, probably not until the last 7 or 8 years where I have truly embraced this notion of being mixed.
it's funny you say that. I absolutely remember the first time I saw the other box, and it was in Lawrence Hall in the University of Pittsburgh, and I was like this. We have a box. I have a box. It was amazing. But even before that, I would, just depending on the day, I would be like this. Well, let's go with white today. Let's go with black today. It was very arbitrary, not because I connect with one more than the other, but it was just. Today's a white day, I guess. Today's a black day, I guess. Um, and even you can ask my mom this or ask my brother. My very first car, I after I graduated college, I came home and I got my very first car, and my license plate said mixed. And because I was like this, it's who I am. It's what I, you know what I mean? And yes, I had a vanity plate, whatever. But my license plate said mixed, and people used to always ask me if I was a DJ. I was like this. I was like, no, that's not it. That's just not it at all. But yeah, that was you know, the different joys of being a mixed kid that other people may not may not know, the little intricacies, the nuances that make it a beautiful thing.
Exactly.
Um, so one of the questions I like to ask, because I'm always curious to find out, how were you received by your family and those close to you on either side as being a little bit different? Were
Yeah.
you did the black side feel away? Did the white side feel away? Was there any overlap? Was it completely different? Was it exactly the same? Talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel super blessed growing up with the families that I had. Like you, my dad's side's a mix of a lot of different stuff. So like me, my brother, being mixed kids in a historically African American family,
Mm.
both from the nuclear side and extended. That was what our family was. My dad's
Hmm.
one of eight siblings, and there was a lot of mixing and within the siblings from ethnicity standpoint on who they chose to be their partner. And then from that, lots of different kids of lots of different shades. And it was just a beautiful thing on my dad's side. And on my mom's side, it my grandparents were amazing. My
Mm.
uncles, aunts, cousins were amazing. I felt a lot closer to my dad's side of the family,
Okay.
not because of the reception that I got. I think it's just because there was a lot more of us cousins running around, and it just felt to me more like familial.
Okay.
But again, I think both sides, from a receptivity standpoint, both sides were just super, super supportive of me growing up, and I feel like both sides just loved kids, and whether we were purple or black or white or yellow or orange or rainbow, that love for
Hmm.
kids resides today on both sides of the family.
Hmm. You know, I that's the most common answer I've gotten, and I love it, and it makes me so curious, because if people can love each other like this, why can't people love each other like that? You know, I understand it's family, and I understand that there obviously there's slight differences, but at the same time, when you get down to it and you realize people are people, they love that, you know, they want to love each other and protect those that they care about. We have the similar goals and ideals in general, and as cliche as it is, we have so much more in common than we do different. And people just still, we're still not getting that. And I love the fact that the people that I've spoken with keep coming up with, you know, for the most part, I was received with love. You know what I mean? The vast majority of the people, whether it be family or neighborhood or community, received me with love and treated me as same, as family, as you know, one of us, if you will.
Yeah.
So, you know, it shows that it's possible. It still provides hope. Um, but you know, when you try to extrapolate that into the bigger thing called life, it's unfortunate that it just doesn't translate as well as I
Yeah,
would like it to.
it rarely fits into a box, right? I think, and that's how I started my intro. I'm like, I am truly multi-dimensional.
Mm,
I'm not a box checker on anything. And I think, growing up, with your family and having all the different shades in your family, like growing up, I'm a byproduct of Jack and Jill. I
hmm.
know that comes with some people love Jack and Jill. Some people think it's for the bougie black folks, but That's Jack and Jill for me. Like, and then the school district that we grew up in upstate New York was predominantly white. So like,
Mm.
no matter where I was growing up, you know, I could, and I didn't realize this at the time because, you know, you're a kid, you don't realize, but you just can deflect and just fit right into whatever situation that you're put in. And so with the Jack and Jill crew on the weekends, it was always what activities can we do? And I didn't think anything different or that me or my brother were any different. When we were then in school, in a predominantly white school in Albany, New York. It's just not something that you understand at that age.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so being able to, you know, try and hold on to that innocence, because again, that is something that adults teach kids, and sometimes it's
Absolutely.
earlier on in a child's life. Other times it's later on, and it's learned a little bit later on. But man, adults really mess up a lot of stuff.
Bro, I couldn't agree with you more.
The ability to really, really not put your own biases on friends, family, and then, you know, generations down the line. That is a lesson that all adults, whether you have kids or not, whether you're in front of kids or not, you know, being able to let kids be kids and to be able to learn things on their own is something that rarely happens, unfortunately. And I think that's why in our society we are in the place that we are, and we're really dealing with a lot of serious topics right now. Is because, you know, kids are not allowed to be kids. We have to grow up too fast.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. It is a shame.
You know, I was actually going to save this question for later, but just because we're in the middle of the topic right now, you know, you mentioned you're a girl dad. You have two beautiful daughters who obviously are mixed because they have no choice. But, you know, what advice do you have for your kids, what are you going to tell your daughters, or advice do you have for anyone who's young and trying to, you know, find their way through, or, you know, what can you give them to help multiracial, biracial kids navigate this journey?
Well, I am encouraged. I'm a big believer of strength in numbers. And where you and I were the onesie twosies when we were growing up, I am encouraged that there's a lot more of us that are 5, 6, 10, 3. And so that by just laws of mathematics, I think it'll be easier. Not to say that it's easy, but it'll be easier to get through. I'm going to tell my two daughters the same thing my parents told me. And I actually didn't realize that they were saying it because I was mixed. I just thought every parent said this, like, and it's the cliche thing that most black parents say to their kids is, you have to work twice as hard to go half as far. And even though now my two daughters are, you know, even lighter than me, one of my daughters looks very, very similar to me. My youngest daughter looks much more like my wife, who is Caucasian. And so even the dynamics between the two, I'm interested to see how that plays as they get older in life. But, you know, I'm going to tell them they gotta bust their butts and they got to work super hard. And, you know, that is something that I can remember probably from when I was 5 years old. I remember that the distinct conversations around the kitchen table with my parents, and I will continue to distill that into my two girls, because you know, life isn't fair, and
No.
I think it's getting easier to feel comfortable in skin colors that don't fit a certain box. But you know, that essence of hard work and just be kind and continue to plunge. I think that's something that 30-year-olds need to hear. I think that's something 20-year-olds need to hear, and young kids is, you know, continue to ask questions like, why do you say this? Why do you think this?
Absolutely.
We always want to jump to conclusions, and rarely do we actually have a full set of data and insights to make a decision. And those are some things I will instill and have instilled You know, you got to work hard and you got to
Hmm.
bust your butt. Uh, be nice. Like there are not enough nice people in this world, especially as you get older. And to continue to be that, and it's easy to do when you're a kid, but to be a continual learner.
Hmm.
You know, I
Hmm.
think people, you know, I've read a lot of articles about how you can live a longer and healthier life. And typically the people that reach 90, 100, it's the people that continue to push themselves and to try new things and to keep your brain continual to be in that learning environment. So a bit off topic of mixed
Okay.
kids, but
Okay.
I think that that is something that I want to instill in my daughters, that continual student mindset, because I
Yeah.
think that's so important to happiness and that's so important to health. And whether you're a mixed kid or you fit in another box, I think that specific topic is just so important to instill at an early age and to continue to manifest and feed that desire for kids and my two daughters as they grow up.
I couldn't agree with you more. I was actually just asked. I had the privilege and the honor of being interviewed by my university. Shout out to Pitt one time, and they asked me, you know, what would I tell myself or tell younger me, and it was just, you know, always be learning. Get outside your comfort zone because that's where growth happens. Because we should always try to grow and learn. And, you know, you just obviously said that yourself. So I could not agree with you more. The growing, learning, being kind, working hard, those are fundamentals. Those are the foundation of being the best version of yourself. And I think that is another thing, you know, just be the best version of you. Don't try to be this person or that person or something else. Be the best version of you. Um, but yeah, man, I can all the way dig it. I'm all the way on board with that, brother. All the way on board with that.
I have a good mentor at Johnson and Johnson. He says, "I'm not. My job is not to make you comfortable. My job is to make you better."
Yeah.
Right? And so I have never worked for this person, but he has been a very instrumental figure in my career over the past 10 years. And, you know, I don't want to be comfortable. I don't want to feel like I'm bored or
Mm-hmm.
I'm not able to reach something or not able to do something. And I think with both me and my wife being able to show that to our kids, not just talk about it, but to show our kids that we are continual students. And, you know, although we may have nice jobs and nice degrees and, you know, we live in a nice house, we live in a great area, like it's always about how you can extend that happiness and
Mm.
to extend that health. And I think a big reason why, and that's proved out not by Jeremy, but through data, is that continual learning journey that people go on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love it, brother. I absolutely, I love it. Now, we're gonna get into some tricky stuff right here because
Yeah.
you've mentioned Aaron, and hi, Aaron. How are you? Miss you, kid. Fantastic woman. You're a very lucky man. However, prior to Aaron, I think you held hands with a girl once, but only once. Um, what did you experience growing up as a biracial kid in relationships and dating? How was that, you know, when you showed up at the front door to pick up the date or to say hello or what have you know, what was your experience in that world in that area?
Yeah. So, Aaron, I love you, babe. I see you. Thanks for the comment. Uh, listen, I've been really fortunate. I've only had a few serious girlfriends before I met my beautiful wife, Erin. It is always and was always in the back of my mind. Like, it's hard enough to get a girl to actually like you. But then, like when you're dating someone and it becomes a little more serious, you're just not dating that girl, you're dating her family too. And so, you know, I was dating a girl in college and you know, I was meeting her parents for the first time
Hmm.
and I was peeing my pants driving. She was from a small farm town in the middle of nowhere, Ohio. And I was like, I and her have had lots of conversations on race and who I am and who she was, but I had never met her parents, and I was
Yeah,
scared to death.
yeah.
My heart was
This
skipping a
sounds like
beat
the
when I pulled up.
this sounds like the first 15 minutes of Get Out. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Um, and the short story there, and the punchline is, her father was a very introverted man. So I'm very, I talk with my hands. I'm an extrovert by nature. And, I was trying to make a good first impression, and he was just very mellow,
Mm,
didn't show a
mm.
lot of emotions. And I'm like, oh man, this guy hates me. I need to turn around right now or just drive back to Cincy. And come to find out, he's just that is who he is. He
Yeah.
just wasn't very expressive. And so, I've been fortunate. It's always in there. It's always in the back of my mind as I'm meeting parents and relatives. That was the exact mindset I had when I was meeting Aaron's parents and aunts and uncles and cousins for the first time. But again, blessed for a lot of reasons with Erin, but her family has been nothing but opening their arms to me, and I am very grateful and thankful for that.
Oh, no doubt. I would assume nothing but that from Erin and her family. Um, I actually I haven't been as fortunate as you. For the most part, things have been all right, but there's this one time that will always stick out to me. I think I was 16 years old, um, 17 possibly, and just going to pick a girl up. We're gonna go grab ice cream or whatever 16-year-olds are doing at the time. And I showed up at the door. Her dad opened the door, looked at me, and closed the door.
Mhm.
And her mom came to the door, and I I was just like, what is everything okay? What just happened?
It just happened. Yeah. Yeah.
And and her mom tried to, in the most bizarre and her attempt to be polite way, was tried to explain to me, well, he just feels this way and he's not very open to certain things and so on and so forth, and saying it so matter of factly, like, oh, he's just having a bad day type of situation, where I was like, this, no, that's not okay. That's not just a, well, he just doesn't really like black people. And I was like, wait, what? That's a thing? Like, obviously it's a thing, but you say it so casually, like, don't worry about it. He'll get
Rolls off
over
the
it.
tongue. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not a, don't worry, he'll be fine. We'll just make sure you're never around when he is. What? But yeah, that was a thing. And it's interesting to me because when I say stuff like that, it sounds like it was so long ago, when in reality, this was in the 90s.
Yeah.
This was in the late 90s. So when people are like, oh, people don't, racism, this and that, and I'm like, uh, we didn't experience it as bad as our parents or grandparents or their parents, but it's still there. It's still
Yeah.
there in multiple forms, in many different ways. But yeah, that
Yeah.
was a situation that I distinctly remember, going to this young lady's house, and she's lovely. Her mother was lovely, but
Mm.
just very matter of fact with that, and I always thought that was weird.
Well,
Um,
those memories are so distinct, especially in a time where you're trying to figure out who you are. Like I can rattle
yeah.
off probably three or four stories where I'm like, okay, clearly me being mixed, me being black, I don't belong here.
Yes.
Um, and I will never forget those moments.
Yeah,
They
they're
are
etched in stone.
instilled in my brain, and people will make sure that you know that you're not supposed to be somewhere.
Yep. Yep. I have several of those, and just because I can't not even get it, uh, man, one time at a county fair, I had some guy come up to me and tell me, he literally, just a grown man, and I was a kid, grown man came up to me and told me I didn't belong there. Just
Yep.
walked up to me randomly, was like, you don't belong here. He said this, and I remember this. He said, this is not a Michael Jackson video. You don't belong here. Go back
Mhm.
to where you came from. I was, I was like, wait, what? I think I was 14. I was like,
Yeah.
you're a grown up. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, memories like that, yo, those things happen. Those things really happen. And thank God that I had the family unit and the close circle of friends that I had that, you know, let me know that he was the problem and I
Yep.
wasn't the problem. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, I mean, one of probably the hardest memory I remember on being different, right? You know, we were living in Cincinnati. At the time, most of my parents' siblings lived in Chicago, and we were going up to Chicago every holiday.
mhm.
Like we were never in Ohio for holidays. It was just Chicago, and you know, to go from for those that don't know geography very well, the state in between Ohio and Illinois, which are pretty diverse states, is Indiana, which is one of the most least diverse states in this entire country. Um, and we made the drives many times a year, and we always stopped somewhere outside of Indianapolis
Mhm.
for a bathroom break or to grab lunch or dinner, depending on where we were going and when we left. We went to a Steak and Shake. It was just north of Indy, and we tried to always stop in Indy or right around Indy because there was enough of a culture and you know people's
Yeah.
mindsets weren't. But you go outside of Indy and it gets really dicey. And I can say that because I went to school in Indiana, so I can honestly say that it gets dicey once you leave either college towns or Indy. But we're about an hour north of Indy. We went to a Steak and Shake for lunch, and the four of us, my brother, me, my parents, we walk in. Everyone in there is white. I don't know, Ian, if they've ever seen a black person because literally we open the door, we walk up to the host, no one comes up and greets us. Every single person in that restaurant turned around and was just staring at us and what felt like an hour, but was probably just like 2 minutes. You know, my brother and I were just confused. And my parents were like looking at each other, like having a very fast conversation with their
Mm.
minds.
Mhm.
Back of
Mhm.
nothing needed to be said. Nothing was ever said. No employee of that restaurant, no patron said anything. But that silence was deafening. And they clearly were saying, "You don't belong here. What are you doing here? Please leave. Not please, leave now."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For all of my all the people out there that are fans of the movie Life with with Martin and Eddie Murphy, all I keep thinking about is those are whites only pies. And as terrible as that scene always makes me laugh just because of the blatant disrespect, but that's what I was conjuring up in my head when you were talking about this. You know, and I want to hit a quick transition because for all of the negative that we've experienced because of this, because of who we are, right? Because of how we were created and who we are, there's so much positive as well. And
Mhm.
sometimes that gets lost when you don't bring it up with purpose, when you don't go after it, when you don't, you know, say, wait, hold on a minute, let me intentionally grab this positive because there's plenty of it there.
Yeah.
What do you think, or what have you felt are some of the just beautiful moments or things that you can think of where you're like this, yo, being mixed is great because of this moment right here, because of this reason right here, specifically.
Yeah, I mean, there's several that are jumping in. I think you know, and I know you've had this conversation with others before me, but you know, the construct of being mixed in the U.S. is very different
Yeah,
than being mixed outside the U.S. And you know, when you and I were walking around Dubai, and more people look like you and me
yeah,
than you know a white person or a black person, you know,
yeah.
those are times where I'm like, the world actually looks more like us.
Oh, for
Now,
sure.
in the U.S., we are the anomaly.
Yeah.
We're always the exception. But you know, you go around the Middle East, you go around parts of Asia, you go around parts of Africa. More people are walking around the streets looking like us, and so you know, it's not. You know, I've had the fortune to live outside the U.S. twice in my
Mm.
life. Once in Europe, and then once in Dubai. With all of our craziness that went on a few years ago, and you know, it's times like that where I remember, you know, you, people should embrace who they are.
Yeah.
right? And feel really, really comfortable, in their own skin. And again, this whole construct on white and black, and you read the history from slavery to the Civil War to Jim Crow and to the civil rights, and even now with thankfully Trump is gone, but all of the issues that got, well, he is gone, but the challenges are still right in front of us.
Absolutely.
It's when you leave the country and you leave all the history that the U.S. has, being mixed is a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. A lot of my close friends and family knows this. I feel, just based on my skin color, I feel more at home in Lebanon. Everyone in Beirut has your and my skin tone.
Absolutely.
And it was the first time, and I went there 4 times for work. From 2014 to 2016, and it's the first time where I actually felt. And granted, they're all speaking French or Arabic, and I don't speak either. But it felt like I had a home. Right? And every time I went to Beirut, I just loved that feeling because I clearly wasn't understanding all of the chatter that was going on. But I'd walk the streets and I'd be going to restaurants and working, and I would constantly have to check myself and be looking around, because I'm amazed that everyone looks like me. And those are some of the times where I just feel like being mixed was just awesome. And having, really, and it wasn't a specific moment. Yeah. It wasn't a specific event in my life, but, I feel and felt like I was at home. And so I think that's one area. And then, if you have the fortune to travel with family or friends, you really learn who are your close friends by who you can travel with.
Oh, absolutely.
And, I've had the fortune to be able to travel with a lot of friends outside the U.S. and, traveling with all different types of ethnicities, and to show up to Asia, to show up to the Middle East. And we say we're Americans when the construct of Americans outside the U.S. is picture this or picture that. And I'm showing up with my multi-ethnic group of friends. That is something that I'm super, super proud of.
That's an amazing point. That's really awesome. That's really awesome to think, because I'm picturing it, and you see all of these shades of people and all of these looks of people. And they all say, no, but this is what America looks like too. And this is what America looks like too. And this is what America looks like too. That's probably the coolest answer or coolest thing that's been said in the 6 or so weeks that I've been doing this. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. I like that a lot. That's really cool. I think with that in mind, I want to jump to another question. What are some of the stereotypes that don't fall or don't seem to be true with you, or that you've experienced? And I go with, well, all black people have rhythm and can dance. That's not true. That is not true. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's not true. Or one of my favorites, white people don't season their food. Look. Hey, stereotypes are there for a reason. However, there are people that can cook their tails off of the Caucasian descent, okay? And they season all kinds of things properly. However, what are some stereotypes that you've experienced, or even specifically with you, that just don't seem to land true?
Yeah, I mean, I went to Miami of Ohio for undergrad, which I loved. It is a small town. It's a college town. But when you walk around and I was in the business school, and, I had the fortune to be in class with my brother a couple of times. But outside of that, you're in the business school and you're in a class and you're the only one that looks like me. And I think from people that didn't know who I was, and especially professors that are kind of like, what is he doing here? And to be able to raise a hand and give an answer proudly and always be right. I think that I wore as a badge of honor, growing up. and in college. So like the fact that, I knew I was supposed to be there, and I
Hmm.
was not only supposed to be there, but I actually knew what I was doing. I wasn't just a byproduct of X, Y, or Z that a lot of folks tend to think of when they see mixed and ethnic kids in places they're not supposed to be.
You weren't the
Um,
quota.
I'm not the quota. I promise I got here on my own merits. Yeah, so I think though that's a stereotype that I just love bashing down. And even in my industry now, I'm in pharmaceutical marketing.
Hmm.
Not a lot of folks that look like you and I in my industry. And so being able to
Yeah.
talk about, I was able to lead some of the diversity recruiting efforts for Johnson and Johnson. I talk a lot. I do a lot of external speaking around being your authentic self and what that means and why that's so important, and that feeling of belongingness that you and I talked about in the beginning of this. That's how people stay motivated. That's how people stay in organizations. That's how people stay within the nuclear family,
Of
right?
course.
Everyone wants to feel like they belong somewhere. And so, those are a couple stereotypes that I love to like break down and show that I do belong here.
Hmm.
I got here on my own merits, and I actually know what I'm doing and know what I'm talking about. And seeing people's faces, being like, oh, I didn't expect that of you. So that's it. I love to think I can dance, but my wife was a ballerina, and so she will put me in my place over and over again. So that's a stereotype on the black side of like, I think have some rhythm and some moves, but Aaron will quickly say, "Hey, bro, pause.
You know
Let
what?
let
I love that.
let me be the show here."
I, I love it. I love that the white wife is the better dancer than the mixed husband. I love it. I love it. You
Hundred
know,
percent, hundred
unless of
percent.
course, if you ask Tequila, Tequila might tell you differently. But I appreciate that wholeheartedly.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I really enjoy the fact that you are in a position now to handle diversity recruiting and to influence decision making at that level. I think that's amazing. I think there's not enough of it, which is evident in situations like H&M and other marketing fiascos where there clearly wasn't enough diverse people in the room to say, wait a minute, that might not land right. That
Yep.
might come off as a whoops. And so that's amazing. And thank you for being there for that.
Yeah.
From all of us who you are proudly representing, we appreciate that.
Well, and it's not just some people are intentionally evil. I'll put it out there.
Yes,
A lot of
agreed.
people though, they just don't have to deal with what you and I and a lot of people that look like us have to deal with. They have the fortune not to see colors. They have the
Yeah.
fortune not to, have to have a talk or
Hmm.
have to have a talk to on if a police pulls you over.
Yeah.
Here are the five things you need to do. Here are
Yeah.
the five things you need to not do. Like a lot of our peers weren't having those conversations with their parents when they were growing up, and I
Agreed.
had those conversations. I'm sure you had those conversations, and it's the unintended consequences that you don't have to deal with it.
Hmm.
Like a lot of people say, why can't they just try harder, or why can't they just fill in the blank? And that is people that say that are people that haven't had to experience,
Yeah.
what you had to experience. And so there are people that just want to be cruel, but I think a lot of people, when they are making decisions in the boardroom or in the family room, it's not that they are ill-willed, it's that
Of
they
course.
are unintelligent in the fact that they haven't had to deal with some of the situations that we just feel really comfortable. I love being in conversations where we can
Hmm.
talk about this type of stuff. That's why I was
Hmm.
like, when I first saw you and your brother talking about, yo, bruh, Ian, I got to get out here.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
a lot of people, they want to be in their bubble, and they don't want to have conversations where they have to rethink
It's
things that they have
uncomfortable.
known to be true.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can add this to the list of great things that have come from being mixed is that we are comfortable in this arena. We can sit down and have these conversations intelligently because we're speaking from a very true place. We're speaking from a place of experience. We've earned these stripes. And it's not, again, it's not to say that people are necessarily all malicious in intent. They just haven't had to deal with it, so they don't know any better. It is the purest form of ignorance because it's not malicious. It's just that they don't know. They've never experienced someone coming up to them and seeing this before anything else. So I agree with that. I really think it is important, and I think it's a beautiful thing that, you know, it's a beautiful result. Not always the best, journey to learn those things, but we've learned them nonetheless, and I definitely feel as though we're better for learning those things.
I agree, and I think variety adds a lot of spice to life, and
Mm,
it's so easy to just find your box and stay in that box.
yep.
But the ability to think differently, act differently, engage with neighbors that don't look like you or may look like you, that is something that you have to actually be proactive.
Yeah.
Things don't just come to you. You have to go
Yep.
seek them out. And you just look around, whether it's athletes, politicians, celebrities, or just mentors in the community, barbers that we have. The richness of life comes from storytelling, and the richness of life comes from being in situations where you are learning, either
Hmm.
whether you wanted to learn or not. And I
Yeah.
remember growing up and we were at the barber shop, and my dad, me, and my brother would spend like 3 hours, not because we were waiting to get our
So
haircut. We
many
we were in and
stories.
out in like 30 minutes. But it was the black barber shop and hearing a lot of lies and a lot of embellishments.
Of
But
course.
those Saturday mornings growing up were just memories that I just cherish
Hmm.
because it was all about storytelling. It was all about hearing about what happened during the week. And this was well before social media and everything else. You actually had to go somewhere and sit down and physically engage with strangers, with friends, with barbers. And, that I've been cutting my own hair for now 2 decades, but that is one thing that I really, really miss is that sense of community, especially on the black side, because it's not something that I really had outside of like work colleagues. I really haven't had that recently, and a venue to go, even before COVID, a venue to go to and just kind of sit down and kind of take it all in and
Hmm.
engage.
Hmm. No, yeah. For those that have never been to a black barber shop, you have no idea the stories, the
Mhm.
laughter, and the sense, like you said, the sense of community that is felt. It's a special thing. It really, it's just a unique thing. It is not, not to put anyone up. It's not Supercuts. It's just not. It's not the same.
Yep.
Um, Now, I've been bombarding you with questions this entire time. Uh, do you have any questions, or was there anything that you wanted to bring up from your end specifically where you said, you know what? I've noticed you haven't talked about this on the show, or I wanted to, one of the comments you made earlier made me think about XYZ. From your end, what do you have for me, sir? Interview the interviewer.
Yeah, I mean, we started to talk about this, but I think how you can feel not only comfortable but feel like you can excel in your own skin. I think is an area, I've heard you talk about it, not directly in those terms, but I've heard you talk about that before. Um, and feeling good in your own skin is hard for anybody. Like that is not something that has been easy to do for any person. Um, Feeling comfortable and feeling good in mixed people's skin, like that's
Hmm.
like a whole different level. And I think some things that I have done to feel really good and would love to, hear what you've done, um, is again, that continual learning and having a diversity of experience, I think is like critical, right? To do, um, but being able to put yourself out there
Hmm.
and try new things. I have failed a lot more times than I have actually been successful. And it's the people that can go out and can say, you know what, I don't really know how to do this, but I want to learn. Um, or, I don't really know. I was in banking coming out of undergrad, and I took a pivot and moved into marketing. Um, and one of the reasons why is because I did not see enough of me in commercials. And you brought up H&M. I would broaden it out to just advertising in general. Um, it's the token that I always saw in advertising 10 years ago, 15
Mm-hmm.
years ago when I wanted to make a pivot. And I think with that, there's a lot of soul searching I was doing as I was a young marketer. But dude, I feel so confident in my skin right now. And I feel like I've been with J&J now 10 years. Not that I know everything about marketing or I know everything about what it means to be a good advertiser, but I now raise my hand and I say, no, we can't do that. We shouldn't do that. Have we thought about this? Can we do this? And typically I am the only person in the room that has had our experiences and
Mm-hmm.
can share it out. And again, it's not that it's ill will or ill intent, but it is the fact that I never had to think about it, or others haven't had to think about it. So I
Yeah.
love wearing that badge in conversations when it's product development,
Mm-hmm.
it's advertising development, it's not only casting, but it's also like idea generation. I think the smartest people are people that build teams around them that don't have their experience, that don't
Of
look like
course.
them, because that's where you get the best dialogue, and that's where you get that to happen. So I have done a lot of things and taken lots of pivots in my life to feel really, really good in my own skin, and would love to hear some of the things you've done to get that confidence, that swagger that you have.
Well, without question, it starts from my mother. My mother was instrumental in the fact that I was more than good enough from the moment I understood those words. And she never let me even question it, never let me think otherwise. You are plenty. You are more than good enough. You are just how you are is exactly how you're supposed to be,
Mm.
right? So I mean, if you ask my mom today, if my mom jumped on this live right now, she would tell you, Ian is perfect. It is a running joke that we have in our family going on 40 years next week or in 2 weeks that I am perfect. And she was been telling me that my entire life to the point of I now know that whether I fail or I am wildly successful, as long as I tried, it's okay. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? As long as I gave it what
Mhm.
I got and all that I got, it's not okay to give 90. As long as I
Yeah.
give my 100, then that's fine. So 100% my mom has been the foundation of me being comfortable being me and knowing that the as long as I give my best version of me, that's it. Um,
Yeah.
you had said earlier that you have failed more than you've succeeded, and I have to assume that that's the same for most people. The only change I would add to that was it's not so much that you failed, it's that you've learned,
Yeah.
right? Because failures are lessons. I was actually listening to a dear friend of mine, Nate Burleson, on a chat earlier today with a young lady by the name of Adrian Starr, and they were talking about business ventures and how he had pivoted from professional sports to a businessman, whether it be television, whether it be his restaurants, whether it be his clothing line, and so on and so forth. And he said he's failed multiple times, but failures aren't just failures if you learn something. If you take that experience and you take the knowledge and you apply it to the next thing, it's not a failure, it's a lesson. And I
Yeah.
think that's important to know because there are a lot of people that are afraid to jump. There's a lot of people that are afraid to step because, well, what if it goes wrong? What if I don't make it? What if negative? What if negative? What if negative? And it's only negative if you don't learn from it. And I think that's one of the things that I hold on to and I embrace because I love growth. I love
Mm.
stepping outside of my comfort zone. I'm very comfortable knowing that if I don't succeed in this specific instance, it doesn't mean I won't succeed in general. It means that I'll
Yep.
just be learning a lesson that will help me succeed later. So there's a lot of confidence in that theory. There's a lot of comfort that I find in the uncomfortable because
Mm.
of that, knowing that it doesn't mean I didn't succeed. It means I didn't succeed at this moment. And those are two drastically different things. Um, so those are some of the keys that I take away, because that was I moved to Dubai because someone said we're hiring, and I, as most Americans, didn't know where Dubai was on a map at the time. Dubai has become a lot cooler over the last, 5, 6 years. And I had gotten out here almost 7 years ago now, right before it was really like a big deal for America to come to Dubai like it is now. And, I had a conversation with my mom and she absolutely told me, she was like, look, and we were on the same wavelength at this point, but she said, if you go to Dubai and you fail, you come home and you're in the same position you were before you left. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you don't go, well, then you're absolutely going to be in the same position. You know what I mean? But if you go and you fail, at least you had that experience, and then you come back and you do what you were doing because you can get a job like that. It's simple. So
Yeah.
I moved to the other side of the world because a friend of mine said it was a good idea and he can hire me. A lot of people would never take that chance.
Well, you know what? And it's the ability to play out all the scenarios,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because logic's not going to get you on that plane.
Oh yeah,
Logic is going to tell you, nah, stay in Vegas, stay in the U.S. You want to go somewhere else in the States, go there. But it's the ability to see the possibility of what is in front of you and to take a risk and a prudent
yeah,
risk.
yeah.
You and I aren't going to move anywhere around the world, but Dubai is a large city. It's an area that is under not as understood as you and I would like it to be, but it is by no means a third world country by any
Mm,
stretch of the
no.
imagination. And the ability to get that opportunity and to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to pick up that phone. I'm going to step on that plane. I'm going to try
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I was only supposed to be in Dubai for a year. Uh, and, I knew within 2 weeks, uh, Dubai was where I was supposed to be.
Mm,
Not that I, could see myself. Dubai was what I needed at that point in my life.
absolutely.
Uh, and clearly, Aaron and I met in Dubai. I met so many beautiful, amazing people, yourself included. But Dubai was where I was supposed to be. New Jersey is where I'm supposed to be now, and it's I would have never, as I was 18, 19, 20, thought I would live in Dubai. Thought
Yeah.
I'd be on the East Coast of the States for this long. And I
Hmm.
was always, I grew up a little bit in upstate New York, but like the Midwest was my home. That was my base. That's where a lot of my friends still are today. But I didn't take the comfortable route. I didn't just
Yeah.
want to stay there and, trying new things and pushing boundaries, I think has just made me so much happier and well-rounded.
Yes.
Not to say that it was easy, but that has been something I have been living in the last 10 years, and I'm sure you're the same way. I never want to look back and say, I wish I could have done this, right? I
Yep.
think so many people get to the retirement age and they're like, oh, if I just would have tried this, or I just would have moved to this city or tried this new job. Like so many people are living with regrets.
Hmm.
And I can honestly say there's nothing major that I regret looking back, because if I wanted to try something new, 10 times out of 10, I'm going to try something new.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
I could not agree with you more. It's important. It's important to step out of your comfort zone. It's important to try things. It's important to find out who you are as a human, because then once you know who you are, you can be comfortable with who you are. You know, once you learn yourself and understand, I like these things, I don't like these things, I want to try those things, I've heard of those, or I've heard of that, I don't know what it is, but I'm interested. That's where you begin to really find your happiness, because you know where you're going a bit more. You know who you are a bit more. And you know, that's where the comfort that comes into play.
Yeah.
Amazing, bro. Absolutely amazing. I know we've been on this for about an hour now, so I don't necessarily want to take up too much time. I'm sure the kids are calling, dinner's almost ready, or what have you, and things are going on in your world. So Jeremy, thank you so much for doing this, brother. I really appreciate it. It's been awesome chatting with you. We don't catch up nearly as much as we should. So
I know.
this was a double whammy. Um, but thank you. You know, kiss the girls, kiss Aaron for me.
Will do.
Uh, so much fun on here, brother. Thank you so much for being on here.
Honestly, thank you for doing this. You know, you have uh, reinvigorated me to think about this. And you know, I've seen three of your talks before, and it's every time I'm watching, I'm smiling,
That's
and I'm
awesome,
playing
man.
it
Thank
back.
you.
I'm playing it back in my life, and I'm like, yep, I know what he, yep, I've been there, done that. You are doing something truly special. And
Bro,
I thank you for taking my text and allowing me to step foot on the stage with you, brother. And it's just been so much fun. And I miss you. Aaron misses you. Hope to see you on the stateside, or we come back to Dubai. But it's been too long, and keep making us proud.
bro, thank you. That's amazing. Thank you so much for that. That's the nicest thing I've heard in a very long time. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. And I will be sure to do my best to keep the beige life alive. The Mixed Kids, you know, the Mixed Kids Club is here, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. So, you know, absolutely thank you guys. Thank you. Everyone who tuned in, thank you as well. You know, we'll see you. We'll see you every week we're here. Anybody has any questions, feel free to slide in my DMs and ask questions, and you know, we'll see you every Tuesday. But Jeremy, brother, thank you again so much. Really appreciate you, man.
Thanks again.
All right, brother, take it easy. So that was this week's version of Mixed Kids Club. Jeremy's a good dude. I really appreciated that, man. That was really awesome. Again, I apologize for starting a bit late. And just as a little added bonus, please believe, because I know last week did not go as planned, we will get Casey back on here another time. But thank you guys. I appreciate you. And we'll see you again soon. Have a great day.